really bad. That would stop if you bring it. But there's still bloody ones in there. What's wrong with you, Mario? One more real brand one. Mario Brandy Mark Mobile. I don't think they'll be late tonight. I could be wrong. Yep, I see. Yeah. She's running? Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, there's like only, 12, 13, 14, but all the big stuff. Oh, so there's definitely. But don't worry about it, okay? No, we'll see how I get out of here. Did you call the bank when they asked you? They left the number here for me in Paris. Yeah, all right, bye. What? Are you in? They're long. One sheet, maybe 5, 6, 7. Yes. that is
I'll bring the charger.
right away. Like a string.
You look fine, Lauren. It's okay. Self-check.
Mayor, there is no CRA book here. The, unless it's not here. This is the one that's got all about the people that we interviewed.
You need to address that with probably Kathleen, because I have nothing to do with that.
Well, we are the CRA board. How do I reach her?
I don't make the books. I mean, she should be here. Lauren, you're muted. Nobody can hear you.
Monica? I don't have a CRA book here. This is not a CRA
Can you
book.
hear me now?
I don't have any. Look.
Commissioner
No,
Brandenburg,
this
if
is
you
not
leave
it.
the agenda, you can get it from outside the door while they're while they're seeing if they can get you another book or find the book.
Okay, thanks, Lauren.
This is. One.
I've also reached out to Kathleen.
They want to keep it personal. We think maybe we do. Okay. I wonder if Kathleen-
That's something that's not there. Right.
Do we know where Kathleen is? I don't see her.
Well, I got the agenda, so.
I'd like to get started, but we need to wait for her. I know. Okay, good. Ready? Is everybody here? I'm looking for,
My apologies, I ran a bit late trying to get the link for the meeting. My apologies.
we have the same problem here. I just wanted to make sure everybody's here before I get started.
Okay.
Here we go. Good evening. This is the Community Redevelopment Agency virtual regular meeting. It is Tuesday, October 13, 2020 at 5:32 p.m. Can you please call the roll?
Thank you.
Chair Llewellyn,
Here.
Vice Chair Odman,
Here.
Board Member Brandemart,
Here.
Board Member Harris,
Here.
Board Member James,
Here.
CRA, Interim CRA Director Weeks,
Here.
City Attorney Ansbro.
Here.
Thank you.
Did not receive any requests for citizens' comments. You see a few residents on the screen. Is there anybody that wanted to speak? If so, raise your hand. Pastor Wiggins?
Can you hear me?
I can.
Let me first say to you,
First, before you start, I'm sorry, name and address, please,
name and address.
for the record.
Pastor Paul Wiggins, 215 Northwest 5th Avenue.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Let me say to you, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, members of the CRA board and staff, it's been a while since I joined in with you guys, but I'm delighted to be here tonight, also as a new Dania Beach resident. So I'm excited about that. But I do understand where we are in the process of bringing on a new CRA director and getting prepared to go into a new fiscal year. But I want to just share some thoughts tonight that I am anxiously awaiting. I see a lot of development that's happening and a lot of development that's proposed. And you all know that I'm a proponent of the CRA district. And I would certainly love the opportunity within the next few weeks when the new director comes on board or whatever, to have the opportunity to sit with the CRA board, the CRA staff, and talk about some positive and bigger movement in the heart of the CRA, and more particularly about looking at the possibility of creating a business district, which within the CRA, you're working with the landowners there, to bring in the heart of the CRA, perhaps some restaurants, some opportunities for professional hair salons, barbers, and also to include, I'm sorry?
Go ahead. He just wasn't muted, that's all.
Okay. To include a resource center to be, put this so that residents will have the opportunity to avail themselves to job opportunities, training opportunities, and a host of other things. So I'm hoping that we can fast track some economic development community within the heart of the CRA. And I look forward to working with all of the parties involved to make that a reality. So thank you for this opportunity to share those thoughts, and I look forward to the rest of the meeting.
Make sure, is there anybody else? I don't see any other hands up.
You have to log it back in.
Okay, so we'll move on to administrative reports.
Okay, good evening, CRA board members. It is my pleasure to start the administrative reports by introducing two new CRA staff members. As you know, we had a few resignations during the last few months, and we are very happy to announce that we have filled two major positions. We have hired Muriel Bryan. She's going to be our manager of economic development. And Muriel comes to us from the city of Dania Beach. She worked with the community development department for the past 2.5 years as a senior planner. She brings tremendous skills to our CRA because we are in the process of developing two major projects right now, and we expect to have more in the future. But we are working on Celeste Citywide, formerly known as the Tryon, and the J.E. Ely Boulevard housing development. So Muriel comes on board and will be helping us with that. Now, as you know, the CRA recently introduced a financial plan for our incentives. And we are looking to do business attraction and retention. And we are doing a program to attract businesses to the CRA and thereby the city of Dania Beach. And we also, particularly in this time of COVID-19 and the global pandemic, we are looking forward to working with our businesses to retain them here in Dania Beach. So Muriel is going to be working on that. Muriel is also going to be working on our various grants, our small business resiliency and reimbursement grant, and our commercial improvement grant. So she brings these skills to us, and we're very, very proud to have her. She's also going to be liaising with our stakeholders, Chamber of Commerce, ULI, Dania Beach, the Greater Fort Lauderdale Alliance, and our community. And Pastor Wiggins just mentioned developing a business district, and I know Muriel was listening to that intently because that will be something that she would be happy to do. She's already started a lot of work with us, and we're really very happy to have her and to welcome her. And she's, as you can see, she's on the call, so I'll turn it over to Muriel if by the chair so that she can say a couple of words.
Hello, good evening. My name is Muriel Bryan. I'm the new Economic Development Manager, and I'm very excited to have the opportunity to help and grow and promote the city.
Thank you. And I failed to mention that Muriel holds a bachelor's degree in urban planning and a master's degree in architecture. So we welcome her.
Welcome.
Our other staff member is Laura Maria Viana, and she's our patch market coordinator. Now, Laura, she said to us that she really loves farming. She worked with Criswell Farms in Fort Lauderdale, and there she did irrigation, soil building, planting, soil refreshment, composting, the full range. But she's also had, and this is really good for us because she's also had some experience in sales, and we do want to restart our market garden, and therefore we want to have people coming into the market, and she'll be heading up our market sales. She's also worked in booth management at a neighboring farmers market. And she also has had some information, some experience with data management. So she brings a lot of skills to the farm. We're really excited about that. She's going to be helping us with our outreach programs, our customer service, and of course, she's going to be doing the planting. She's already started. And of course, I left the best for last. Laura Maria, she prefers to be called Laura. Laura Maria is a resident of Dania Beach. So we are happy to welcome her as well. And she's online. Laura, you want to say something? I'm seeing her picture, but I don't know if she's frozen. It's frozen.
He has no microphone to unmute.
Okay, all right. Okay, so she's there, and you'll see her friendly face at the patch. She's already on board with the rest of our crew, and we're hoping eventually to be able to restart the market as soon as possible. Moving on to some other items, the At Home Dania Beach First Time Home Buyer Program. As the former executive director advised at our September 14th meeting, we have closed 2 homes. We were very excited about doing this. It happened last week and the week before. So we have 2 new home buyers who have already closed and are in the process of moving in, getting things all sorted out with their new property. We have 2 more home buyers who will be coming on board, hopefully by the end of this month. We're actually working on closing documents now for 1. So we expect them to close hopefully next week, and then we have another one coming up. But we have 2 more homes, and they are in the process of the underwriting for their closing documents. So at some point in time, the CRA hopes to be able to bring you on board for some sort of a socially distanced photo opportunity so you can meet and welcome home our new first-time homeowners. I made a note about the beautification program because Rebuilding Together Broward County had to cease their operations in March because of the COVID shutdown. So they started in June, they started back, they're working on ongoing basis, but it is slower than what we saw in the past. So we extended their contract, their agreement up until the end of November to give them a chance to complete 45 homes. But they have completed 23 homes. And when this report was written, they had 12 in progress. And I'm sure they have more coming along. And if anybody has, any contacts or information on homes that may need to be painted in the CRA area, we welcome that. But they are moving along and they anticipate completing this project by the end of November, if not before. The Small Business Resiliency Reimbursement Grant, we had about 12 applications. We have paid only 5, and I just want to advise that the reason for that is that based on the guidelines and requirements that we have for this grant, we have to monitor and we have to go through a process of making sure that what the grantees or the grant hopefuls, what they send us matches with what the grant application requires, so that when we get the material to the accounting department, they would be comfortable with what we submit. That being said, we are moving very fast trying to get the 12 completed. We did a mail out this week to all the businesses in Dania Beach CRA, advising them of the grant and letting them know that it's available. There's money still available in the grant. So we are going to be following up with businesses to find out if they are interested and to pursue that. We do have some good news. As you know, every year the CRA does a fantastic job of marketing the Dania Beach special event, Dania Beach Arts and Seafood Celebration. We look forward every year to having that event because it brings the public from surrounding areas and even from outside of Florida many times. People who are on vacation, they come to that event. And it is our opportunity to showcase Dania Beach, downtown Dania Beach, get them to see who we are, and also to possibly come back and enjoy Dania Beach after the event. Unfortunately, we had to shut the project down, the 2020 project down, about 15 days before it actually was held because, or was scheduled to be held because of COVID-19. So we did, however, decide that the little that we had, we would work on submitting entries to the Florida Festival and Events Association, not only for arts and seafood, but for all our other special events. And we ended up being extremely successful, we think, because we submitted for 6 entries and we won 4 awards. For the Dania Beach Arts and Seafood Celebration, we had already published our promotional flyer for Save the Date, which was a camera design, and we won the first prize for that. Also, we won the first prize for the patch mailer for 2020. We normally, as you know, do a mailer for the patch. We had it all set up and we won first prize for that. We won second prize for the Buy Local t-shirt for the patch. We had never really submitted that t-shirt. We remembered that we didn't and we decided to submit it. It's a great design. We've always received compliments about that t-shirt when people come to the patch. We submitted it, we got second. And of course, I think one of the biggest awards, of course, for us was second place for Touchdown Dania Beach website. Because as you know, we agreed to do Touchdown Dania Beach, in November. We didn't have such a great night because of the weather, but it was such a great event and the website was spectacular. And so we won an award. So we're really happy about that. In terms of the patch, we continue in the online ordering system. It's happening. We have some dedicated customers. We would love to have more, but we do have some dedicated customers. But the patch staff have been working to get creative and to bring more opportunities for revenue, but also to assist people in this time of COVID with the opportunity to probably just grow their own food. Everybody's talking about food insecurity and lack of sustainability. So we give them an opportunity, and we have this great program that we're starting. It's called Grow at Home, and we will sell a patch packet designed to help in-home farmers, and anybody can be an in-home farmer. We're selling seedlings, seed packs, and also available for purchase our grow bags, because that's how we grow the patch, in grow bags, and we have soil. So it's an ideal starter kit for anyone who wants to start their own garden and get going right there in their backyard, since everybody's pretty much staying at home as much as possible in this pandemic time. And we're also working on the reset for the garden, because we are about to start our growing season for the fall, which is when we can, you may have seen that all the beds are covered. That was for summer. Now we're getting into the fall period and we're going to be fully stocked, and we're going to get going with planting out all the patches. So that's going, and our hydroponics as well, don't forget that. So I did not put anything on rebranding signage, but of course we are working on rebranding signage, and then there are a number of signs that are going to be going to our the signage company. They have sent us the design, and they've sent us the layout of the signs. And of course we have Muriel, who is just reviewing everything, making sure that everything is on point for us, and then we'll be sending those to be done. We just recently had the sign at the fire station that was installed yesterday. So we'll see in a few weeks of a number of other signs being done. So I'm going to come back to you with a report in November about the signage. And I just want to add that with respect to the sign on East Dania Beach Boulevard, we've been working with the city manager and city staff with respect to where that sign will be relocated in Dania Beach. So that's it. I still have to get a contact from Broward, the Dania Beach Heights, Broward Heights neighborhood. We still need to figure out who's in charge of that area. I think maybe I'll just take a drive over there and try to see if I could ask some neighbors because we do need to have a sign done for them as well. So that's the report, if you have any questions.
No, thank you.
I don't see any questions, no hands up. Thank you, Kathleen.
You're welcome.
Okay, we have no presentations. Next is consent agenda. Do we have any polls? I'm going to pull 5.5.
5.5.
You need a motion, Chair?
Go right ahead.
Okay, motion to approve with the exception of 5.5.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Oh, I guess they're all muted, but they say yes.
Yeah, I'll second it.
James
All
said
in
yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, I pulled 5.5 for a few reasons. As we know, this is the issue with the rental relief that is only for the CRA. Obviously, what you're trying to do here is we now need to amend the CRA plan because rental relief was not something that was anticipated by that plan. So just so people are clear as to what the actual item is. We're supposed to follow the plan, correct, in order to be able to receive our funding and follow the law, basically. Correct, Kathleen?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So in order to do the rental relief, we have to actually amend the plan. I have some concerns about that because obviously there's going to be a review of the entire plan at some point when the new executive director comes on board, and then there will likely be amendments to the plan at that point. My other concern is that it makes me pause a little bit because it makes me wonder if there were other items that were done in the past, other programs that were done in the past that didn't meet this plan either, and somehow managed to go by. So I have already asked to have the items looked at for the last couple of years to see and make sure that everything does in fact meet the plan requirements, because the last thing we want to do is have the state or federal or anybody come after us and turn around and tell us that we're doing something inappropriate that is against the law. So that I wanted to make you aware of, first of all, before we went any further. And Tom, can you please advise everybody what the status of that is? You're muted. Hold on.
Okay, yes, we have begun within the last 2 years to look at the different resolutions and actions taken at different agendas to make sure they're consonant with the plan that exists. And we're about halfway through that process.
Okay. The other thing is that in this amendment, the assistance is not just rental assistance, it's also talking about mortgage. I don't have an issue with utility, I have an issue with mortgages, because my understanding is that in any of these programs that's been done anywhere, mortgage assistance is not included, because mortgage assistance generally goes between the person who holds the mortgage and the people who are paying the mortgage, and you can make deals with them on that. And the way that it's worked for most places at this point in time, from my understanding, is that banks are actually deferring payments to the end of the loans. So I would prefer to keep this strictly for rental relief and not for mortgage, so that if it's going to be done this way, I still think it needs to all just be done through the city. And as you know, and that's primarily because we could actually end up receiving reimbursement from the county through the CARES Act if we do it that way. And it also doesn't divide everybody. But I'm fairly certain that I won't get the votes to do that. So I will go ahead and forego that. But I do think you need to take out mortgage relief, because mortgage relief was never something that was anticipated by this.
Okay. So, Chair, a couple of things. One, as you stated, we decided that we wanted to amend the plan because we wanted to put specific language in the plan that spoke to rental assistance. The reason why mortgage and utilities is there, because we believe that if in the future that is required, that plan amendment that we do now will suffice. But the reason why we decided to actually do an amendment to the plan is that we already have in the plan rehabilitation and revitalization as important components of the Dania Beach CRA redevelopment plan. I mean, and that element is an element that is in pretty much all cities, CRAs. There are a number of cities and CRAs that have been doing this mortgage assistance and rental assistance and utilities assistance and senior aid assistance, and to ensure that we are doing the correct thing and we are working according to the statute legislation, we felt it would be better to strengthen the language. We worked with our consultant from Weiss-Arota, Mr. Tolsis. Unfortunately, he was not able to join us on the call, but I can have him here in the future. And he developed the required language to amend the plan. Now, this amendment is, I don't think it's unusual to amend a certain revitalization goal in a CRA plan. According to my understanding of how the plan works, if the governing body, which is the city commission, decides that there is a need to put an amendment into the plan, assist with a situation in the CRA, then you have that opportunity to do that, and that does not or will not affect the entire redevelopment plan and the updating of the redevelopment plan. Because the updating of the redevelopment plan is going to be a major process in which we communicate with the community and all the stakeholders in Dania Beach about what they would like to see the CRA accomplish in its next 14 years, because we do sunset in 2034. So we have at this point in time to do an update on the plan with the census coming and the fact that we need to get some other items into the plan that we'd like done. But just to be clear, housing is important, and the reason why it's there is because there's no coincidence that it's there. It's there because the writers of the plan, and I assume also the writers of the statute and the legislation, kind of had a foresight that one of the most important things is the home in CRA areas. And so it's interesting that with COVID, we had stay-at-home directives. And when we got these stay-at-home directives, in many cases, some people just had to stay at home and work, telework, and some people lost their jobs and had to stay at home and had no money to pay their rent. So it was a situation where all communities were impacted. And I know that the entire city was impacted, and that's why we're going to try and do a program for the entire city. However, since blighted communities are already in distress, the COVID-19 situation has exacerbated the problem in our redevelopment area. So that's why it's stated in the plan, the Exhibit A, that specifically speaks to prolonged economic hardship, which can lead to residential displacement, which can contribute to incidents of homelessness and exacerbate slum and blighted conditions within the redevelopment area. And it gives the CRA the empowerment to provide grants for residential assistance. And we put in, as I said, mortgage and utilities, so that if there was a need to do this in the very near future, there will be no need to come back to the CRA board. So basically, that's why it's there, and that's why it's we have to put this into our system to ensure that anybody who looks at it in the future can see that Dania Beach CRA acted responsibly in amending one element of the plan to meet a requirement that was seen by the CRA board.
I know the reason why I came up was because of the rental assistance program that was passed previously.
Absolutely.
I understand all that. I get all that, and that's why it made me concerned and made me want to look at the rest of the other initiatives that have been done in the past. So, because the one thing I want to do is make sure that we don't end up in the news for the wrong reasons. So that being the case, I think it's a good idea that we audit it, see what the situation is. Now, my next part of this is that, I know I see hands up, I know people want to say things. Let me finish my points and I will be happy to call on each of you. But the other thing that I want to make sure we're doing, because we're trying not to do something different in different places, that was my understanding from all of you, is that even though you wanted to have a separate plan for the CRA, but we are still trying to do the same thing for everybody. And as a result, I think that our interim director should work with our city staff and come up with the criteria that both plans will be using and then provide us that criteria so that we can then approve it. Because we need to make sure that everybody's receiving the same benefit, but that everybody's also required to follow the same criteria in order to receive that benefit. So we don't, there's already an uproar in town about this and the fact that it's being done in 2 separate plans, and we don't want to make that divide even worse. And therefore, I think it would be very important that the two work together and try to put something together that can follow, whether it's the county plan or something else. The county did a very detailed plan, very detailed criteria that seems to have been working. So I think that's something that really needs to be looked at and followed. And that's all I wanted to add to that. Commissioner James?
Yes, thank you. I have the opportunity to speak with David Tolsis. I think I'm saying his name wrong. I know he works for White Sirota. He does serve as the CRA liaison or consultant for our attorney. And I know I knew that this item was going to be pulled for a number of reasons. Not if the chair didn't pull it, I'm sure someone else would have pulled it because, you know, this has been a hot topic. I've seen a lot of conversations about it. But if it makes it easier to say that for this part of the rental assistance that we won't use it for mortgages, if that's what the will of the board is, I'm okay with that. I do want to make sure that we are being consistent. I do think that both the city and the CRA, all of us, we have to sit down together. We've already agreed to that. I have no quarrels for that. I do think that through getting the legal opinion of our consultant, that nothing is wrong with amending the plan. I do understand that we are going to do an overhaul that will take about a year or so. I do understand that there is another wave of COVID happening. I also understand that I know our CRA area is slum and blighted, and in those communities, we have a larger household or density in those communities. And, you know, if an eviction happens, someone's going to move in with their families or their friends, and that is going to increase the density in those areas. That's going to increase the poverty in those areas. That's going to increase the maybe crime rates in those areas, because that's what typically happens in those areas historically. If we're speaking about CRAs, it is our job and duty to make sure that we are having a plan that is both functional and lawful. And I do not think that, well, I can't remember from, you know, my 4 years being here of us doing anything that was not in the plan. I'm thankful for the CRA for bringing this, and not us bringing it, but, you know, staff bringing it, saying, look, listen. Because I remember when we first brought it up, say, you know, if we do this, we have to amend the plan. And that was my knowledge the entire way for doing it. Not for, okay, we're going to get it approved and then amend the plan. I knew all along that we would have to amend the plan. And so I went into this decision and this fight and everything else knowing that we would have to amend the plan. I am very confident after speaking to legal that it is lawful, it is not unethical, it is not immoral. Those are the questions that I asked him because I want to make sure that we are not being illegal, immoral, or unethical. And he did assure me that this happens all the time, it's standard, and no one could have anticipated, you know, a pandemic and the need for it. I think the reason, like our interim executive director is saying, I think the reason that the other elements are added, it doesn't mean that this money is going to be used for that. It just means that if, you know, we don't know what is going to happen in 2 months, we don't know what's going to happen in 4 months, just give us the ability to not have to amend the plan again for the entire overhaul. And I'm definitely in support of, I'm in support of amending this plan. If certain things, if you all want to speak about or come together and speak about something that wants to be taken out of that amended portion of it, I'm open to discussion on that. And those are my comments. Thank you.
Vice Mayor, Vice Chair.
Yeah. I think this is a question for Frank if you're listening on the line. What happens if there's unused money from, well, I guess I'm asking just about the CRA side.
Can you repeat? I heard your question, but I don't quite follow. Can you repeat that?
Like if we have $250,000 allocated and only $100,000 worth of people apply, what happens to that to any of that money that was set aside? The other 150.
Well, I mean, it went to the CR. It's going into the CRA budget for that purpose. So I guess it would be a decision between the CRA board and the city commission of how to utilize those funds, whether they be retained within the CRA and repurposed for something else, or be transferred back to the city side.
So is that a provision that we could put in there if that was the will of the board, that if, like I just said, if $100,000 worth of applications were processed, that the remaining money would go back to the city budget, since that's where it was allocated from? I gave that question to you, Frank, but I don't know if it's more of a Tom question.
So you're saying any unused funds for specifically set aside for this rental assistance would just be reverted back to the city? They would not be retained within the CRA?
Yeah.
There's no issue with that. I mean, you could make that decision at this point.
Okay. And then my other question, not my other question. So I agree with the chair about, I had the same sort of pause about this. I wanted to make sure that we weren't like making the evidence fit the conclusion kind of thing. I was lucky enough that I happened to be in an FRA class, for some CRA certification. And I had a lot of people who I talked to about this today, because I had that same worry. It just made me think, is this unusual? I wanted to make sure we weren't doing anything unusual. And it turns out it's not unusual. It's definitely not illegal, but it's also not unusual. And I guess it was more of just a knowledge deficit on my part to have not known that this is not a peculiar thing to do, and is done and has been done in many cities. And the way that it was explained to me, again, by someone, he has like 22 years experience or something like that, with working with CRAs, was that that COVID, a disaster at this magnitude was not expected. It's not something many people put in the plan. So it's not unusual to want to address and fix a disaster in that area. And this is the process by which you would do that, and that it's fine and it's okay. But I do agree with the chair that there needs to be close work with the city about the criteria. I liked that the criteria was very strict for the county, and like you said, very detailed. There was a lot that goes into it. I think we need to have that. So I think there needs to be. I don't know how we would ensure that would happen, because I think there's been many times previous where we've asked for the two to work together, and it hasn't always happened. But in this case, it's very necessary that it does.
Well, my understanding, it seems like Kathleen and the city have been working together very well on a number of projects. We've been able to do all of the interviews and everything like that we've been doing for the CRA director, and there are other things as well, is my understanding. So I don't think that's an issue.
Well,
good. Then I'm confident in it.
I'm sorry. Yeah, we were anticipating actually meeting with the city manager, because I believe at the last meeting when this was agreed to, there was talk about doing like a workshop with the city and the CRA. So we have actually started to do some research on looking at the other cities, seeing what they have done, what, you know,
Yeah.
criteria they use. I think that's where the whole mortgage thing came in, because a lot of them are offering mortgage assistance, not that we will do so, but just to have everything out on the table for everyone to see what's possible, what's happening, you know, currently in Broward County.
And before-
Okay, wonderful. Well, I'm glad that as much as we can be on this issue, especially given where we started from, that we have at least somewhat come together on it.
Frank, I have one more question for you. Doing it this way, I just want to be clear. The 250 going to the CRA and then the 250 going to the city. If we are to put in reimbursement to the county for CARES Act funding, am I correct that we would only get 250 back because only the amount that went through the city?
Yeah, that could be true. I don't know 100% yet. I do know that, and so I was going to ask to give a follow-up comment just to the board as a whole on this matter. So regarding the CARES Act money, the county, as some of you may be aware, the county has a rental assistance program that they administer. If the city and CRA were to use the county's program, you obviously have to use their guidelines. Okay, so we don't get to decide how we want the money to be distributed. It has to go according to their program because they have a one-size-fits-all solution. The key there is that if the whole program was handed over to the county, you can almost guarantee that the $500,000 would be reimbursed through CARES Act. If we don't do it that way, there's a chance that all of it, we don't know for sure exactly how much of it, to what extent, would or wouldn't be reimbursed at this time. There's going to be some more conversations with the county tomorrow to understand exactly the depth of that and try and get the full answer to that question. But as of now, having the program separated with two distinct areas within the city itself, there are going to be some issues with the funding through the CARES Act.
And that's why I was concerned. And all right, so, and you're going to find that out tomorrow? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. And my other question for you is, if we, okay, you're saying that there's a potential for being able to turn it over to the county to administer the whole thing?
Yeah, the county could administer the whole rental program, and again, the money would come out of the CARES Act. The key here is that if the city's already set aside money, and we don't look at all avenues for if we're looking to do a program and there's a way to do it where it doesn't cost the city anything out of its budget, it's kind of incumbent upon the city administration, the CRA board, and the CRA staff to pursue that avenue, because no matter how we slice it, that $500,000 that you allocate in the budget is all taxpayer dollars. If you have a way to replace those funds somehow, you have to go to whatever extent you can to get that money, even if it means possibly compromising on some of the program details, how it works, because again, that money is on the table. We really have to try to take it.
Right. And if we were not to do the administration of this through the county, who would be administering it?
The city staff, CRA board staff, or whoever the city could possibly contract at this point to handle the administration.
Okay.
But we still have to wait and find out.
That's, yeah. Board Member Harris?
So what Frank said, that we would have to hire an outside accounting firm because of the commingling of funds to make sure they're administered properly so we get full reimbursement. Is that right, Frank?
I don't know if it would be an accounting firm, but I mean, the city could theoretically administer it itself with its own staff. However, that's not currently a skill that most of our staff do possess at this point. We're not in the business of giving out payments to people to assist them with their rent. So we'd have to develop a program, decide who's going to handle it, who's going to be reviewing the applications and vetting all the financials. So it makes most sense to use experts that know what they're doing, either that already run programs like this or have the ability to run a program like this, whether that be the county or an accounting firm or some other consultant.
Okay, so one more question is, does anyone know on the CARES Act required documents, how long the turnaround time is from application to funding? Because the list of required documents is very extensive. Does Kathleen or Frank or anybody know what the turnaround time is on getting these funded?
No,
Okay,
haven't heard from anybody.
all right, thank you.
Board Member James?
Yes, thank you. I know that, and I guess question for Frank. I
Can't
know
hear
I had a conversation. You can't hear me?
You're
No.
very quiet.
Can you hear me now?
It's about this, it's better, but still distant.
Sound far away.
Yeah.
Oh, what about
Okay.
now?
Well, it's still, it still sounds distant. So try, give it a try.
I can hear you though.
Yeah.
I'll mute myself again.
How about if everybody else mutes themselves, then I think it makes it better.
Yeah, yeah.
That's part of the problem.
Is it better? I can't hear you. Muted you
Let's
too.
try it. Go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me now? Okay, awesome. I know that I've been following this closely since we brought this to the table, and I know that the first thing that the CRA staff did, because it was my request, is to reach out to the county. And I know that at that time, the county had told the CRA staff, and I think they had spoken to Ralph Stone, that they were understaffed and they would not be able to facilitate that program. Now, I know that the city, Frank, when did you all reach out? Like last week, maybe, to the county?
Yes, I believe that the assistant city manager has spoken with them in the last few days.
Okay, so I'm hoping that maybe they give you a different answer than they had given CRA a few weeks ago, but I do know that they had told the staff there at the CRA that they were understaffed and they wouldn't be able to handle more if we were giving them the funds, because that was the first thing that I think that the CRA wanted to do, was to be able to have the county administer it, because again, it's easier. They have strict guidelines and we wanted to, you know, do the best possible things to get reimbursement. So I just want everyone to be aware that although we are reaching out to the county, they've already told us that, you know, they're understaffed and they won't be able to take on, you know, the task of administering it. Now, I will agree that whatever guidelines we do set, we need to set them within the county's guidelines, so we do have the best possible chance of, you know, getting the reimbursement for the funds. But I just wanted to put it out there that, you know, coming from Ralph Stone himself, you know, he's already said that they're understaffed and they won't be able to take on that type of a workload.
I see our assistant city manager has his hand up.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. The reason I raised my hand was to answer Commissioner James' question. We are in communication with the county. As a matter of fact, a few days ago, we received an email through our legal department. Tom and Eve were on it, and the county's legal department said that already, according to our agreement with the county on the CARES Act, on the CARES funding, that they would administer our CARES funding already with the agreement we have in place. Now what we're looking at is to see would they administer our municipal funding, meaning the funding that we have designated and approved within our budget, which is separate from the CARES Act funding. So that's the communication we're going to continue to have with the county. But up to this point, the communication we're getting from Broward County is that they will administer our CARES Act funding if we so desire. But as Frank stated, it has to be the same identical program that Broward County currently has in place.
Let me ask, hold on a second. Let me just ask though, is that for both programs, or is it just for the city program? Because that was one of our concerns in the very beginning with this, is that if you can get CARES Act funding and you get it reimbursed to us after we put the money out, one of the issues is it's going to the city. It isn't going to the CRA. It's going to the city to do it. So that's what I'm trying to find out. Are they going to be willing to administer the program for both or just for the city?
I'll ask that question tomorrow and get some clear answer on it, and I'll follow up with the board.
Because if they're not willing to do it for the CRA, then we're going to need somebody to administer it for the CRA. And I think it would be best if we had like an outside firm that does that.
Right. Idea would be to be consistent with both programs being administered by one agency. But again, I'll get a clear answer on that tomorrow.
Okay, I see you waving, but I also have
Waving to you.
board member Brandon Marty has her hand up as
I
well.
wasn't waving to you, I was waving to Frank.
Board member Brandon Marty, go ahead.
Thank you. Candida, a question. You said that it must be administered exactly the way of the county. That's saying that we as a commission do not have a right to make an amendment to the community development plan. That's
No,
what
no.
you're saying?
No, not at all. What I'm referring to is the rental assistance program.
It does not include the mortgages though, does it?
Again, I'll get some clarification on the mortgage.
Yeah.
My understanding is just for rental
See,
assistance.
Candida, what gets me in a crazy zone is this. We're gonna protect rentals, people that are renting. What about the owner of a house? What are they gonna be, put out in the street? Yet this only protects renters? That's what I can't grasp. What if I own that house and she can't pay, but I'm floating her? But now I'm behind in mine. Does that mean I lose my mortgage, my house, my credit?
Actually, board member, these programs, the way that it works, the money goes to the landlord. It doesn't go to the tenant. It goes directly to the landlord to pay the rent. And so that's addressed that way. And like I said before, the reason why mortgage is usually not included is because mortgagors and mortgagees can work together. And in most cases, what they've been doing is the banks have been putting those payments that haven't been made at the end of the loan until COVID is resolved. So that's what.
Chair, the way we've got it, it doesn't cover that person.
Well, right now it says mortgage relief. So unless we're going to remove that. Okay, board member James.
Yes, I wanted to ask Candido or the city or whoever's been in contact with the county, have you all reached out to the housing board yet?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Have you reached out to the housing office yet?
No, I have not.
Because that's a very important step to make sure.
The communication we've been having with the county has been through the City Managers Association, the Broward County City Managers Association. A lot of the other cities are asking the same questions, and the county has been answering the questions in the board meetings, in our managers' meetings. But the communication has been strictly between the municipalities and the county.
Yes, but my question is, doesn't it have to go through the housing office since it is rental assistance? Because I mean, I believe that's what I understood, unless I could be mistaken.
I can probably answer some of that.
Okay,
I can tell. I'm sorry?
I said, hold on, let me finish my question and you can answer probably. I just wanted to know what part the housing office has to do with the rental assistance, because from my understanding, that's probably the communications. If we really wanted to get deeper and ask these questions and see what type of approvals or whatever we need, is to go through the housing office. So that's why I was asking if we reached out to the housing office yet, or does the county go to the housing office?
If you're talking about the housing authority, I have reached out to the housing authority already on this issue because I was concerned about criteria and I was concerned about people that were in the most vulnerable situation where they're required to be on Section 8, or if they're like in Saratoga or someplace like that. And it is my understanding that anybody who is receiving funding for that, has their rent paid through that program, that rent has been paid all along. They're not going to be evicted.
I'm not talking about HUD. I'm talking about in Broward County, the housing office that would help, answer these questions, but it's fine. I just wanted to know.
Board Member Harris?
I mean, from what I'm hearing about mortgage relief, like the big banks like Bank of America and Wells Fargo have been very understanding with their forbearance programs. And like you said, Chairman, that if you miss 5 payments, then those 5 payments are added on to the end of the loan. So whenever you decide to sell it, or when you do, then those 5 payments will be added to the principal that's not paid. But it only covers mortgages. It doesn't cover anything else.
So I mean, we can make a motion here. I think we need to maybe amend it a little bit. You know, I'm not quite sure how to amend it, quite frankly. Putting that all in there, and I'll ask the city attorney if you have any suggestions as to how you think it should be.
No, what would you like to amend it to? If you're
Well, I'm not, I mean, I want to make, I'm saying we should not include the mortgage in there because that's not what we're going to be doing, to my knowledge, in other places. But also we had, I think the vice chair had suggested that we say that any remaining funds go back to the city. There was also discussion about criteria and working together. Or do you want to do just separate motions for different things? Because it's not all based on the amendment. I mean, there's the amendment and then there's all these other.
well, I think
I'm just not sure if we need to even make a motion on all those other issues or if we just need to address the amendment and then we have the record as far as what's going to be done. Vice Chair.
Well, don't they almost have to be separate? Because I don't know, how do you vote on some of these things when Frank is saying there, I mean, there's a huge gap of information we don't know.
Right.
So I guess maybe if it's okay with you guys, why don't we maybe separate the things, separate the items? I don't know how else we could do it if we didn't separate it. I don't know how we would vote on it tonight if we don't separate them.
I mean, the other,
and yes, I would like that money to return to the city.
Right.
That was also something I'd like in there.
I have another thought. How about this? How about if we know that we're going to get more information in the next day or two, right? The city already has money set aside for citywide. We start the process of CRA and city working together as far as criteria and doing that. And then we just defer the amendment until all that's resolved. And then we can come back and vote on the amendment.
Kathleen has her hand
I see
up.
that. Go ahead, Kathleen. I'm trying to think because we can still move the process along. So this way it's ready and it's ready to go. I'm not saying don't move it along. I'm just saying, I'm thinking that we, until we have all the facts, it's better to make sure we have it. I'm trying to unmute you, Kathleen. I can't. You're muted. Go ahead.
There you go.
A message came up and I was able to do it. No, I just wanted to say that when we do the amendment, I mean, the way we work the plan is that we work on the elements of the plan. So as the CRA board responsible for the agency, we still have to bring back to you resolutions and documentation on what we plan to do. The reason why I think we should go ahead and amend the plan now is that when we start speaking with the city, that element of it is done. And the thing is that we don't have to do mortgage. There are things in our CRA plan currently now that we have not done because we have not had the financial resources to get them done. So we don't have to do mortgage. We don't have to do utilities. The reason why they were in there was just in case that came up later on and there became a demand for it, then we don't have to bring that back to you and amend the plan again. So, and the thing about it that I'm really concerned about now is that this is already on the agenda for the governing body tonight, at tonight's meeting. So it would be clean if we can amend it. We are not bound by anything at this point. If nothing happens, then so be it. But the plan would be, that would be done. That would be one element of work that's completed. I mean, I know we could bring it back, so.
Fine. That's fine. Board Member Harris, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I mean, whatever, if it works better to do it through the county, but I think whatever works the best and the fastest, because people are suffering. I mean, I get emails and calls every day about somebody that needs some help and, they need to pay their electric bill or they have the car note due or all those things. And I like to try to help everybody as much as I can. But if we can go to the county and expedite the program based on the push from Frank and Candido and the City Managers Association and also through the League of Cities, I think it would behoove us to do it through the county because they already have the mechanisms in place to administer the plan and the reimbursements from the CARES Act funding that we fought hard for too, back to the cities, from the $340 million at the county. So we're entitled to our share of the $30 million in reimbursements, and that reimbursement is going to be critical.
Okay,
That's my motion.
that's, I don't think it was a motion.
No.
Commissioner James, Board Member James,
Go ahead, Tom, if you want to speak before me.
Yeah.
It might-
I'm muted.
there you are. Now
There you
you're,
are.
Thank
Hear
you.
you.
I would recommend that since you're not in a position to do either the mortgage program or utilities program, you delete those words
I
from
did.
this resolution, from this resolution and from the city commission resolution, and that we add in a clause at the end that any money left over from the rental assistance program reverts back to the city. We'll amend it accordingly if you make a motion to that effect.
I would like to make that motion.
okay. Do we have a second?
Well, wait, I was
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
here first.
I forgot. I lowered your hand.
No, it's okay. Okay, I have a question. And this is to Kathleen, I believe. Is the reasoning for the utilities and the mortgage, it wasn't for the funding that we just approved, correct? Hello?
He's muted.
Muted. Kathleen?
Kathleen? No, she's muted.
Unmute.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, no, it was not for this particular rental
Okay,
assistance program.
but
The
so-
program is for rental assistance and it's
Okay, okay. So is it an issue with the board that when we amended, we're not going to use the funding for it, but if something else happens, it would prevent us from having to come back and do the same exact thing right now, a few months later? Because to do the entire overhaul, it's gonna take at least a year. So if we decided to come back with a different source of funding, maybe the county had different funding or whatever it is, or we could apply for other things, we will already have it in our plan. That's the only reason why I'm thinking of maybe we should keep mortgage assistance and utilities in the amendment, but not for the program that we're going to do. And then we can say whatever money's not used to give back to the city. But the only reason why I'm saying that maybe we should broaden that, because we don't want to clip our wings. We don't know if there's going to be additional funding that we can apply for or grants that we can apply for, but we won't be able to apply for them as a CRA board is because we won't have it in that plan. But so I'm not saying, so for the $250,000 or whatever monies are allocated, not use that money for utilities and mortgage assistance unless that came back to us for that particular use, but to at least have it in the plan so that we don't shorten ourselves. Is that okay for anyone, or?
Discussed in the past was about rental assistance. I'm concerned that if we start broadening it too much, it turns into a different
No.
program altogether.
No,
And
I'm
that's
not
all we
saying that. I'm not saying that. The monies that we are allocating, I only want to use that for rental assistance. I'm on board with that. I'm on board with not using those fundings for mortgage or utilities. That's what I'm saying. That's what I would put in the motion. But what I'm saying is to have it in the amendment in case of another emergency or something else that were to happen, so that we could use that, not for the 250. That's not what I'm saying.
I'm not sure I understand what you're saying then. If there's, Commissioner Harris, go ahead. And
Yeah, I mean, you know, the issue with the reimbursements and the funding, if we have one program citywide, administer it right away, as soon as we can. Candido's going to talk to the county tomorrow, and we can expedite this as soon as possible to get people some help. And if later on that we are, as the city, not the county, we as the city, want to provide some kind of mortgage relief or rental, or not rental, but utility relief for people to pay their, you know, FP&L or their phone bill or whatever, then we can come up with that. But right now, I think rental assistance is the key. And if we go right to the county with the $500,000 and get full reimbursements, we can do that. I mean, we can do that. Let's see, what's today? Tuesday. We can probably start receiving applications as soon as next week. I mean, because here we are all the way through almost halfway through October, and some people haven't paid rent since March or April. So I think it's critical that we move on this with the county as soon as possible. And why reinvent the wheel when they already have the program in place?
All right, that didn't help me, but just look. Here's my thought. Okay, let's just leave it at rental relief for now. And then if there is another plan that comes up, we're going to have to come and get more money anyway to go into a program to do that. So if we're going to have to do that, we'll have to have a meeting to discuss that. And if that is something that's needed for a different program at another time, then we can address the new amendment and funding all at the same time. And then this way, as opposed to making an assumption about things and I don't know the ramifications of it if we were to put it all in there at this point, and I'm not really comfortable with it. I'm fine with if we want to come back at a later date and we want to talk about a different plan and then have to add, if we have to amend the plan because we have to make it fit somehow, then I think that would be more appropriate to do it at that time.
Okay, as long as the board is okay with having the possibility of having to amend a plan again, because I'm okay with taking it out because I didn't anticipate using it for mortgage or utilities. What I'm saying is it very well might be a situation that we may have to amend our plan twice in 1 year. And the whole feeling I've gotten is, okay, why are we bringing something that's not in the plan already? You know, that's the only reason why I'm saying it. But if you guys are okay with possibly amending the plan again because we have to, I'm okay with that.
We're already going to have to amend it again in the future anyway. We know this.
I know, I'm saying before that time happens. That's all I was saying. Okay, well, I second the motion of the vice chair.
Okay, call the roll, please. Tom Schneider, call the roll.
Sorry, I thought I was unmuted. I'm sorry. Board Member Brandemart,
Yes.
Board Member Harris,
Yes.
Board Member James,
Yes.
Vice Chair Odman,
Yes.
Chair Llewellyn.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, there's no proposals and bids, no discussion and possible action. Board member comments. Board Member Brandemart.
Yeah, I just want to say congratulations to the two new staff members, Muriel Bryant and Laura Viana. Congratulations and welcome to the team.
Okay, Board Member Harris.
No, I don't have any comments.
Board Member James.
I also want to welcome the new members to our CRA board, and I look forward to expediting this process and getting the people help who need it the most. Thank you.
Vice Chair.
I'm gonna mute. I really quickly want to say that I'm really proud of everyone towards, this is probably one of our biggest debated CRA items that we've had in a while. And I'm really glad that everyone kind of got on the same page about our really wanting to help residents and wanting to put them first and being willing to compromise and work together and, you know, make this happen. So just thanks, guys.
Welcome to our new CRA employees. That's all I have. Thank you. We're adjourned. We'll see you back at 7.